Hey there and welcome back. Today I want to talk about the foldable smartphone, and that's why I called this video Innotalk, because for talking about innovation. So because I do not want to say all the time foldable smartphone, I want to call it in this video flex phone. And whilst we're at it in defining names, I want to say that the front screen of the foldable phone, like when it is in this state, is called front phone or phone screen. And then I'm calling the back of it, the back or the back screen. And when you unfold it like this or this, the huge screen, I'm going to call tablet or tablet screen. So let's get to it. So it is pretty self-explaining what a flex phone is, but what does it claim to be? So this can be shown with this picture. So we have on the one hand the desktop and the laptop, and in between you could say there's the gaming laptops, then laptops and tablets, and in between there are the convertibles. And now the foldable phone claims to be in between the smartphone and the tablet. So the expectations to a tablet and a smartphone combined is that it needs to have a large screen for the tablet. It needs to be thin and light because it needs to fit into your pocket and it is still a smartphone. Then it needs to have a huge battery because it's your main device you're using and you want to use it the whole day without charging. And it needs to be resistant because a smartphone can drop and anything, and yeah. So that are the expectations to a flex phone. What are the problems and challenges when you want to combine, for example, an iPad Pro, which most people say is the best tablet, and a Samsung Galaxy S10, which is now the most hyped smartphone? When you want to have a large tablet screen like this with these ratios, so that you have a good screen usage when you're, for example, watching a video, and you want just one flex, then you end up with a pretty much oversized phone like this. This is my hand, or like this, and then it is really on the long side. So that is the challenge with the screen. The second problem is the fold, of course. So when we imagine that this is our phone with this thickness and we want to fold it, we see that the parts at the back are going to restrain. So if we have a hard back, we have a lot of pressure on the outside and less pressure on the inside. So adding to this problem, the hinge needs to be resistant because of the expectations of being a tablet and a smartphone. It needs to be flexible, of course, and reliable, and it needs to be easy to use because you don't want to fringe around and use buttons or whatever. And it needs to be thin when folded because it needs to go into your pocket. So that are the problems and challenges you face when you want to make a flex phone. Now let's talk about the two solutions. The first one I'm going to call Book Flex, and it is like this. This is your tablet screen, and you close it like this, and then you have the smartphone screen right there. This is represented by the Samsung Galaxy Fold, and yeah, here are some images, and like your first impression is, of course, there's a really small screen, so you think smartphone screen, so you think the tech isn't ready yet, but then it's amazing how it folds. But then when you see it opened, there's a huge cutout for the camera, and yeah, it doesn't look really that good after, of course, seeing the Huawei Mate X. But how does the hinge system on the Samsung Galaxy Fold work? And for that, I am going to use a little carton and our screen. When you look at some pictures, you see that there are basically two flexes, and there's a picture right there, which you see right now, roughly right there, and there are two gears. And I think their function is that both sides are at the same angle. So now, we had the pressure problem, and like this, in this particular case, we have the inside of our fold right here, and you see that on the inside there is not that much pressure. So when we fold it, we see like this that still the screen is expanding. So the hinge also needs to reduce the size of this back thing, like so. And then you see the main problem of this design, that you can't close this very much because you need to have a lot of space. Whilst we're talking about disadvantages of this design, first of all, like for the Galaxy Fold, you have a small smartphone screen. There are lots of cameras needed because you have basically three screens, and you need here a selfie camera, on the tablet side a selfie camera, and on the other side a camera for make a picture of the landscape, for example. And then it isn't thin, as I already mentioned, like this. And on the other hand, though, the advantages are that it is intuitive to use as a book, like it's, as I call it, book flex, and you can open it anywhere and just grab into this small space between the tablet screen when you want to open it. And there is, as I showed you, less pressure on the screen, so maybe it is more durable. So now let's talk about the other concept. You can fold the screen like this, and this is what I'm going to call reverse flex. And the most famous representative, of course, is, as I already mentioned, the Huawei Mate X. Your first impression, of course, is it's incredible. It has a huge screen, it folds, the future's there, the fold is there, the flex is there, whatever. But as I already told you, let's look at how the hinge system works. And this is a little bit complicated on this phone, and I tried to simulate it with this perfect simulation. So you can see it on this picture right here, that there are two parts that can move inwards right there. And basically what happens when you fold the phone, these things are, whilst you're doing it, moving inwards like this, like so. And then you can move your, then you have the phone folded. So, and again, when I open it, that is what you see at the sides, these two things that are moving outwards. And when you fold it, they are moving inwards. Of course, this is not a perfect, but kind of for the explanation part. There, we can see the disadvantages. So, first of all, when you see a natural image of the phone when it is folded, so of unfolded, so of the tablet screen, you see it's squarish, and I think you don't gain any, or not much, more display space for watching videos on a square display. The second thing is that you have lots of pressure here. So on my case, you see it is falling out, but in the reality it's glued here together, and you see that the screen moves a lot. So because of the pressure and because of the covering of the display being plastic, it is bending a lot, and there are lots of pictures in the web that show when you hold this device like so, that the screen is moving upwards, and when you're swiping over it, you have the folds, and that doesn't feel good. So then the next point I wanted to address, that for the Mate X, the camera is on the back right here, and when you have it in tablet mode, you have no selfie camera. So I think that might be a minus point. But let's go to the advantages. So it appears like it is ahead of time. It looks incredible, and it has a super thin fold, but it depends on if you see this as an advantage or disadvantage, because like when you want to open it, the opening mechanism is kind of on the strange side. So you have, one part is already falling apart. So you press a button back there, and then it flips open, and then you can open the device. And on the Galaxy Fold, it is something like, you can kind of see it like this, and you can take it wherever you want on the book flex. So now, but there are some advantages, because, for example, for gaming, you have a large screen and your thumbs aren't in the way. Now, the question is, of course, when we remove these two parts, how is the screen not falling apart, and how can it fold a little bit? And this you can see on the top view. There are these little elements we saw on the LG rollable screen, just on a smaller scale, so that it makes a fold. So another disadvantage of this phone, though, is because of these, what I showed you with the two things pushing apart, there's more movement, and thus I think it is more likely to break. But that is just speculation that needs to be seen when the phones actually release. So, to my conclusion, both have advantages and disadvantages, and of course they are first generation phones that aren't perfect. But my first impression was that I would prefer the Mate X. But actually, if Samsung made this front screen, the smartphone screen, bigger, I think I would prefer the Book Flex concept. But the future needs to show us. Maybe there are some completely different approaches to this problem. And I'm excited to see them sometime, hopefully. But yeah, I haven't spoken about the price and purpose. So that was all from me. Hope you enjoyed it. If you do, please hit the like button and subscribe. And stay curious, especially maybe for a tutorial or something. Bye.